I can't believe that he's finally here. Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam and today is all about the color green, which are the colors I don't have behind me, as well as the mammal bull. Because we have got questions to answer, questions such as, I wonder whether Green Bull's devil fruit is a Logia or a mythical Zoan, seeing as they've appeared non-stop so far. And yeah, so right now the only thing we know is that plants are somehow involved, which doesn't tell us a whole lot. It's kind of tricky actually, because plants are involved in lots of different things. What I will say as a personal preference is that I really hope Green Bull isn't a mythical Zoan or in fact any Zoan, because I think I've kind of overdosed on Zoan fruits over the last 4 years on Wano, and right now I am seriously craving some Paramecia action, and I feel practically starved of Logias as well. With that said, a Zoan might be a decent choice overall, because it would mean that our current 3 admirals each represent a different class, with Fujitora being a Paramecia and Kizaru being a Logia. What I'm more intrigued by is that, for whatever reason, we've never actually had a plant-based devil fruit. I mean, we've had the non-canon devil fruit guy from Film Z that allowed him to grow things. I think it was the Mossa Mossanomi. But the true power of plants has never before been unleashed in One Piece. I mean, Usopp's abilities have kind of touched on it, but I cannot wait to see Ryukugyu in action. And by the way, this amazing picture of Usopp was actually drawn by one of our fantastic channel artists. And 3 lucky subscribers from this video are going to win a custom artwork requesting whatever they'd like. For example, one of our previous winners wanted Queen dressed as Freddie Mercury, and how could I possibly deny that? To win, simply be subscribed to the channel and leave a 1-sentence comment with your art request. And yes, you do need to be subscribed because YouTube shows me this handy like little red dot next to your name, so there is no fooling me. You'll also receive a high quality digital copy of your request, as well as have it featured in future videos, becoming part of Grand Line Review history. But for now, more questions about Green Bulls. I think Green Bull might help Wano with vegetation and filtering contaminated water. I love this idea, because this could age very poorly, very quickly, but Ryukugyu to me, he doesn't give me those villainous vibes. And that might be because Fujitora does seem to have some degree of trust in him, but I also enjoy the idea of having a bit of a callback to when we met Kuzan, and how he froze the ocean in order to allow Tonjit to travel across Longring Longland, which I swear is still one of the rare instances we've seen of a Marine Admiral actually doing what the Marines are meant to do, which I'm pretty sure is helping people, at least in theory anyway, probably not in practice. Which I suppose is also what Fujitora could have done with all of that mess on Dressrosa. He could have cleaned that whole island up in minutes, but instead he only chose to use that power to try and halt a certain monkey man. So I'm all on board for Ryukugyu revitalizing Wano, and then we would get to leave the island with it looking all lush and beautiful, in stark contrast to how we arrived, which was a desolate wasteland. CP0 didn't seem to know Green Bull was coming, given the way he tapped their signal. Do you think he has the same goals as them? No, of course not. Said so many no's, why? In fact, right now, I don't think that Ryukugyu has the same goal as anyone. Not CP0, not the world government, and not Sakazuki. The thing is, the Marines and the world government are separate institutions, which is why a lot of people got confused by the world government ships arriving at Wano and thinking that, the Marines are here. So he was definitely not ordered here by the 5 Elder Stars. And judging by Sakazuki's tone, it wasn't an order from the Fleet Admiral either. So Ryukugyu he's simply a man taking his own initiative. And maybe that has to do with his particular brand of justice, which if I was going to guess would be, plants good, everything else bad. I will say that for the first time since this particular theory came into existence, I am starting to be subtly won over by the idea that Ryukugyu may be from Wano. I'm definitely still not sold on the whole Green Bull is Ushimaru or even Zora's father idea, but there could certainly be some kind of connection here. A few people in my comments also compared Ryukugyu to Yamato, specifically that Yamato was fasting whilst waiting for Luffy and Zoro to recover, and that Ryukugyu could be in a bit of a similar situation, having spent 3 years fasting for reasons. By the way, I also want to take this opportunity to highlight the sheer confidence of Marine Admirals. To think that any individual can just casually stroll on into territory held by a group of people who just took down 2 Emperors of the Sea, that is wild. And actually Kizaru was willing to go to Wano on his own in the beginning as well. So maybe we, and by we I guess I mean maybe I have seriously underestimated the true extent of just how powerful Marine Admirals are. And also if Ryukugyu is here, I guess that means that we're probably done dealing with those pesky warlords. So I'm very keen to see what has happened there. I honestly don't like how quickly Wano is being wrapped up, considering how often it dragged during the raid. Okay, so I both agree and disagree with the statement. Even though the raid did take almost 2 years to complete, I never felt like it was dragging on. And if anything, there are some places where I felt it moved too fast, like say Jinbei versus Who's Who. But I do definitely agree that Wano is wrapping up super quickly, and look, I don't quite know how to feel about it. For some comparison, after Doflamingo was beaten, we still had a further 10 chapters on Dressrosa, which is almost an entire volume volume. And Dressrosa, well, it needed it because there was a ton of stuff to resolve and we just needed some time to chill and decompress before being flung into Zou. So the fact that Kaido was only beaten 2 to 3 chapters ago and we're already seemingly packing up to leave isn't necessarily amazing in my opinion. Honestly, what I'm hoping for right now is that the announcement about the next saga was just like the manga equivalent of clickbait. I've mentioned this a few times now, but it's worth mentioning again in case you didn't know. It was announced that the final saga of One Piece would begin with chapter 1054, thus implying that Wano would conclude with either chapter 1053 or I suppose maybe partway through 1054. So I hope that this is just the marketing department of Shueisha trying to build up some solid hype because I don't think that Wano can satisfactorily tie everything up in just one chapter. Ashura died the same way he tried to stop others 10 years ago, against Kaido shouting Tsunachi for Wano. I think his death feels right. That is so true, and this is why I love reading your comments because I had completely forgotten about this. 10 years ago, Ashura's comrades actually embarked on the original raid, the one that did fail, and for a whole decade, Ashura Doji has been living in despair, thinking that their sacrifice was essentially meaningless. And that does make his death a lot more touching to me, because he now gets to go and join them in the afterlife and inform them that, hey, Wano did eventually get freed and all of the sappy dead stuff. I don't know, I've never been to the afterlife, I don't know what they talk about. But if I was in the afterlife, I would definitely be talking about Wano. If Hawkins also died, which is a high probability since he looks very dead to me, Wano has killed off more side characters in the present time than any other arc. This is giving me higher hopes for the final saga, since I feel like Oda is feeling more able to kill characters off, since their character may not have future development, if that makes sense. And sure, it does make sense, but a question I genuinely have is why Oda, all of a sudden, feels comfortable killing off so many characters. I mean, it's not unprecedented, actually. The scale in which he's doing it is unprecedented, but it's all just very unusual. And it leads me to 2 potential conclusions. One is that his editors were pushing for it, as weirdly enough, his current batch of manga editors have only been with him since 2019, by which point we were almost a year into Wano, so they wouldn't have had the opportunity to move him in that direction before now. And the second is that Oda realized that, hey, if we were going to have this all-out war, then as much as it goes against his general philosophy, then we probably do need some deaths that aren't villains. I have one question. How is the anime gonna spin the whole 1% thing, since they already spoiled that it was Drake, and now we know it's Hawkins? Oh my crap, I forgot about this completely. In episode 1001, the anime removed any ambiguity about the 1% man, and Hawkins did quite literally state that it was Drake. So I often say that the anime is worth watching because it reveals information like this, the kind of stuff that Oda elects not to expand on. But in this case, they pretty seriously messed up. Although I have to imagine that they consulted either Oda or his editors before quite blatantly revealing that the 1% man was Drake, and that this may be a situation where Oda originally intended for it to be Drake, but then changed his mind along the way to give Hawkins a better send-off. And it's not impossible to deal with, and look, here's how I think they handle it. In like a year and a half where they get to the scene, Drake will just say, "But I thought you said I was the 1% man, Hawkins, And then Hawkins will reply, "I lied. Lol." Because Eustace is constantly being shown in the discussion of bounties and the new Yonko, I'm going to assume that he's going to take most of the credit for beating Big Mom, and that he might be replacing Big Mom where Luffy will replace Kaido. I actually think that would be pretty hilarious. If only for Law's reaction, the idea that Kid got all of the credit for beating Big Mom, that would sting him so bad. But I'm also pretty damn hyped for the concept of new emperors, and I'm hoping that Oda throws us some curveballs that we weren't expecting. Right now, I feel like the obvious answer is something like Luffy, Kid, Law. What? That is not 4. Luffy, Kid, Law, Blackbeard, and Shanks. Which is why I really appreciate a current movement in the fanbase represented by this comment. I hope Buggy becomes the new emperor. And honestly, I would not rule it out. Buggy is a man who consistently fails up. There was a time when the idea of him becoming a warlord would have been just absolutely absurd, but look, he did it. And one of the thoughts I've always been a fan of is that somehow he ends up being the only warlord not caught by the Marines. And I guess therefore he gains a following and infamy required to establish himself as a sort of accidental emperor alongside Shanks, his former crewmate on the Pirate King ship. I mean, I don't know, maybe it is a little bit too memey, but this is Oda we're talking about, so I definitely can't bring myself to rule it out. I think Law and Kid will be the replacements as emperors, and Luffy will be put in a rank above the emperors. Yeah, that's a fine idea, that is. Because Luffy, I guess he was more or less already considered an emperor, so it's not necessarily much of an upgrade for him to keep that position. And it would be such a nice slap in the face to Kid to finally have that recognition he desired, only to be one-upped by Luffy. And to be fair, Luffy entirely deserves it. Although it would also place him above Shanks, which sounds like it would make him a pretty great pirate to me. I am most interested in seeing what Law's next plans are. Me too. Because the whole reason why this alliance began has now been fulfilled. Although one of my fears is that everyone is now going to go their separate ways for a while. One Piece without Law as a regular main character would feel a bit weird, but it could happen. Perhaps Law disappears for a bit to find some poneglyphs to deliver to Robin, because we do need to gather the rest of those up pretty damn quickly. And Law himself does now seem to have an individual stake in discovering the truth of the world. But also, having brought up Robin, as a lot of you pointed out, like perhaps too many, but why was Robin not on any pages? I am afraid. So in chapter 1052, Robin was the only Straw Hat that we did not see. She was of course mentioned by nefarious old men, but she did not grace us with her appearance. And I think a lot of people, in fact I know a lot of people, are freaking out about this and have been thinking, she's already been captured or something. But let's just chill here. When Robin goes off on her own to do her various Robin-y things, it generally means one outcome. She's off reading a poneglyph, and including that thread in 1052 would have detracted from its general purpose of fun and relief, and also any poneglyph related revelations may have made the Green Bull hype moment at the end a bit less impactful. So yeah, look, if you're one of those people freaking out about Robin in my comments, then let's take a deep breath in and out, because everything is probably going to be fine. Maybe. I predict that in chapter 1054, the group will discover that Kaido's road poneglyph is in Elbaf. I don't know how on board I am with that specific prediction, but that road poneglyph thing is still such a ridiculous mystery. It wasn't in the Flower Capital, and it wasn't in Onigashima, so where is this damn poneglyph? I mean, maybe it's just in a different region of Wano, and that's where Robin currently is, but right now in my inferior mind brain, it makes very little sense for Kaido to be hiding it on a completely different island, given that he had such a convenient stronghold in Wano. Questions. So many questions. Many of which will be answered shortly, but for now, here's another video. It's good, and so I look forward to seeing you there.